I'm Julie Duell, and you're watching Spotlight on Sparks. We have so much to talk about in this segment, but first and most importantly, I want to introduce our new mayor, Ed Lawson. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
So you were sworn in as our 26th mayor just the other day. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Quite an honor.
Well, very
Quite some big shoes to fill there. Well, I've wanted this job for a while, but I didn't want to have it at the cost of losing my friend. It's bittersweet in that aspect. But we have to move forward, and life goes on. And we got 100,000 people that are relying on myself and the council to move our city forward.
Right, right. And speaking of that, I know that you have served on the council since 2010. You've been mayor pro tem, so you have had a lot of experience. Which way would you kind of like to see the city go?
I think I'm going to continue to champion the things that I've been doing for the last 6 years. I think the lands bill growing towards Story County is important. We cannot ignore the 800-pound gorilla in the room out there, that a county that has 4,200 residents has 50,000 jobs probably in the next year, and 40,000 of those people live with us in Reno and Sparks, and 80% of them live north of I-80 in Sparks and Reno. So the road going from La Posada to USA Parkway, it's environmentally sound road. It cuts the commute in half. It takes a lot of pressure off of I-80, which is the main thoroughfare for the United States coming from the Bay Area to the East Coast. So it accomplishes a lot of good things all at one time. And then I have a plan to look at the current industrial area, where every city in America would love to have a river run through it, and ours unfortunately is backed up to with concrete tilt-up buildings. I'd like to see that turn into some residential down there and kind of get a total mixed use where you could live, work, and play in that whole area and make that a city center similar to what we have in our downtown. So I think city centers, they've been done in Europe for thousands and thousands of years. It's a great way to grow a community, and it's the most efficient way too, because there's not as much transportation need for cars, and so you can walk and play and have fun in your same neighborhood.
Oh, that sounds really exciting. I'd love to see some plans on that. And I know kind of hand in hand with that, economic development is really something that you really believe in as well. Do you want to talk about that a little bit too?
Well, that's what we have to do in Nevada. I mean, the way our tax system works, we actually go backwards with the government on our tax system because of the way houses are taxed. With the depreciation on homes, the cities actually can't keep up with inflation. So if your home goes up the standard 3% in tax, you get to deduct 1.5% of that 3% off of that increase. So the city's only getting a 1.5% increase. Well, the inflation rate's over 2% and has been over 2% for many, many years. So we can't keep up with keeping employees employed, enough cops on the street, enough firemen, the parks and all the things that go along with that. We're a service industry as the government here. That's what we're here to do, nothing else but be of service to our community. And if we don't have employees to do that, it makes it hard for us to be good at what we do.
Right. Right. Well, thank you. I appreciate you talking about that. Anything else that you're thinking that you really want to mention that you'd like to kind of push forward for the City of Sparks, or anything just specific about City of Sparks?
I think the other thing that's kind of a passion in my mind is figuring out the homeless issue. It is such a complicated issue, and I'll tell you right now, I'm barely scratching the surface after 2 years of being on the board, the Community Homeless Advisory Board, or the CHAB board. There's just so many moving parts there. We know we can have success with young people, and we know we can have success with veterans. So I've been a big advocate of how do we get to the young people first, which Eddie House has picked up that, and Diaz Dixon is doing a wonderful job over there.
Yes, definitely.
And now what are we going to do for our veterans? How are we going to help our veterans? And I know we have some veteran programs, but I want to see some more success in the veterans area.
And I know another thing that we've done here at City of Sparks too is we've introduced the HOPE team, that we have 2 police officers that are not necessarily enforcement oriented, more than educational and helping people out that may just need some resources down there.
And that's where Sparks has been miles ahead in this homeless issue. and not enforcing so much and arresting as to going and asking on a service-first basis. So how can we help you? Can we help you get services? Can we help you find housing? Can we help you this? And we bring the most team with us from the county and the county services with us when we do these things. And I think it's working. Now, of course, COVID threw everything out the window.
Right.
And when we get to the other side of this COVID pandemic problem, we're going to have to start over. But I think we've got the building blocks in place at the city of Sparks to make a huge difference in the homeless population and getting them services and keeping the river clear so that all of our citizens can use the river.
And that's really the point too, is we have a lot of people that are reaching out saying, I just want to be down there riding my bike and feel safe down there and hop in the river if I feel like going for a swim.
And I know that was the big time pastime for me and my family when our boys were little. Growing up, we'd have the bicycles and we'd ride along the river path there. And we just loved it, and they loved it, and we'd stop and throw rocks and try and skip rocks and just have fun. And it was a family place to be. It's not that way so much anymore. We need to bring that back. And maybe I'm a little bit of the good old days kind of a guy, but I think there's a whole generation of kids who haven't got to enjoy the river. And as I said, every city in America would love to have a river run through it. And we have one, and we're not using it to its full capacity.
So I wanted to ask you too, you just appointed Dian VanderWell to fill your vacant Ward 2 seat. Tell me how you came to that decision and how you're feeling about that.
That actually was a very, very easy decision. Dian has been tirelessly working for the city of Sparks in this region for the last 12 years. And there's nobody else out there in Ward 2 that has that kind of resume. I know there's a lot of people that wanted it, and I was contacted by a few people that did want to be in there. But there's just nobody with the same resume, nobody with the same pedigree that she has. So this is about choosing the right person for the right job. And for me, it doesn't matter anything other than that fact that she's the right person at the right time, in the right place, in the right ward, in the right, she's right in so many ways.
Tell me about some of the boards and commissions that have helped her really become the best person for this job that she's served on.
Well, I appointed her to the charter committee. And I know she was just getting started with that, but she's been on so many commissions. I probably can't even, without her resume right in front of me, she's done so many things.
Planning Commission.
Planning Commission for the Sparks, and she was chair of the Planning Commission, I know, at least twice. And then of course with the Regional Planning Commission, that's a big responsibility when you're talking about what things are happening in the region in its entirety, not just for the city of Sparks.
And those meetings are run very similar to council meetings, and a lot of the decisions that are made and things like that. So very good experience for her.
Yeah, she'll have no problem with the procedural part of all of this. I think some of the other things that come with being a council member that's a little, you're a little more out in the public than you were when the Planning Commission, which I think she'll adjust to just fine. I think she's, like I said, I couldn't be happier with the choice.
Well, she is going to be my next guest on the show, so I get to talk to her a little bit about her. So I wanted to talk a little bit about you just personally, who Ed Lawson is. I know you grew up in Las Vegas. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I was actually born in Washington State. My dad worked for the Hanford Project, which is a power plant in Washington State. Both my brother and I were born up there. We moved to Las Vegas when I was 3 and my brother was 1. So Vegas was our home. My dad went to work for the test site in the nuclear plant out there at Yucca Mountain outside of Las Vegas. And then in 1970 he decided he was doing construction on the side and working out there. He decided that he wanted to be a policeman. So he became a Las Vegas policeman, which I think merged within a couple of years to be the Metro Police. And he had a 30-year career there as a Metro cop. I was fortunate enough to be a pretty decent athlete in high school and junior high, and I secured a full ride football scholarship to Colorado State.
Wow.
And I was very happy with that because I wasn't probably going to go to college without a scholarship. And so I ended up with 5 years there. 1978 was the first year you could redshirt freshman. So my senior year was the class of '83 with John Elway and Bernie Kosar and all these great quarterbacks that came out of college. And so that was pretty special. And then went back to Las Vegas with my family and went to work for Motorola selling two-way radios and designing two-way radio systems for the casinos. And made a pretty good career until Motorola decided that they're going to lay off 6,500 salespeople nationwide. So I ended up coming up here in 1989 and working for a smaller shop that I'm still best friends with, one of the owners of that shop to this day. And then went to work for Yesco, Young Electric Sign Company. Had a great career there, 17 years with them as different types of hats I wore, but salesman mostly, and manager of Carson Branch. I was the outdoor billboard manager for many years, and then 2010 came along, and my kids are gone, my wife works late, I'm coming home to an empty house in the wintertime. It's dark, it's cold, it's quiet, and I didn't like that too much. So I said, you know, I have more to give, and decided I was going to run for city council, and was lucky enough that in 2010 I was able to win. And here I've been for 10 more years.
Yeah, yeah. So you mentioned your family. Tell me a little bit about them.
So I have my wife. We met. I'm very proud of the fact that her and I met when we were 19 years old. We dated through college, and we got married right out of college at 23 years old. We have two boys. Our oldest one is Landon, and Landon has had a dream to be a doctor for many, many, many years. I think he has 3 degrees now. So he's got a biology, a Spanish, and a master's in hospital administration. Well, he just got accepted to medical school in Barbados, so he'll be going down there when they open the country, whenever that is. We hope that's in January, but he started school online, and we're proud of his path and where he's going in his future. My youngest son is also an amazing young man. He, right out of college, went to work for Deloitte over in San Francisco, and talk about your small town boy in a big city. You know, it was a big shock in the beginning for him, but he managed to spend 6 years with Deloitte. When he decided that he'd had enough of the big city, that he was managing around 300 people all over the world for Deloitte, and doing very, very well. And then he just said, "Dad, I'm going to take a year off, and I'm going to walk the Pacific Crest Trail." And after I picked myself off the floor, I said,
remember this.
"Holy cow!" I said, "I don't even know what it was." And it's roughly 2,700 miles from the Mexican border to the Canadian border, and he covered that in 5 months. Met his, I think maybe the love of his life. We'll see. Time goes on while he was on the trail, and then started his own consulting business in Denver, doing a lot of what he was doing with Deloitte, and has turned that into a successful business.
So driven boys like their dad, for sure, and their mom.
And then their mom.
Yeah.
Remember, mom's no slouch either.
Oh no, yes, I know Diane. She's amazing. So
yeah, so she works at the Atlantis, and she's the corporate payables manager for them, and I know that the Fry family just loves her to death, and rightly so. She does a lot of hard work for them and works her butt off.
Yeah. Great family, great career. We're excited to have you as our mayor. Anything else that you want to talk about?
I'm looking forward to this chapter. I kind of lived my life in chapters. When football was over, I knew it was over and it was time to move on. When my career with Motorola was over, I knew it was time to move on. The same thing with Yesco, and the same thing with the other. It's just when that chapter comes, I just like to have that feeling where you can close it and be happy with what you did, and then put your energy into what you're doing, and don't look back. You can remember it, but don't look back and don't dwell on it, and just move forward. So this is a new chapter for me, and I will guarantee you the City of Sparks is going to get 110% of my effort and my attention to do what's best for our community. And I mean, that's for all of our community. And I think, the thing I'm most proud of about our community is we're family oriented, and that's what we're about. And all our decisions from the council come from that place, is that we're family oriented. And it doesn't matter what your race, color, creed, socioeconomic, any of that doesn't matter. It matters that you're a family and you're living in a place where you can raise those kids and be happy and feel safe.
Well, with that, I think that's just Completely well said, and I so appreciate you being my guest. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Julie.
And I'm really excited to introduce my next guest. It's Ward 2 Council member Dian VanderWell. Dian, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
So I was just talking to our mayor, and he appointed you as Ward 2 Council member, and the council approved that at our last council meeting. How excited are you to be a council member?
I'm extremely excited. I think I've prepared a good portion of my adult life for this, and so I'm so excited.
And I know that's because you've been on a lot of boards and commissions. Can you tell me a little bit about that and maybe how it has prepared you for this job?
Yes, sure. I served on Washoe County Planning Commission from 2006 to 2013 when I lived in unincorporated Washoe County, and then we moved into Sparks about 5 years ago, where I grew up and went to school. And then I was appointed to the Sparks Planning Commission. And with both commissions, I also was a representative to Truckee Meadows Regional Planning.
Great. And I know you and I worked together a little bit on the Sparks Citizens Advisory Committee as well. So,
yes.
Yeah, so you have a lot of experience. What do you think you're most excited about to be a council member? What kind of things are you thinking about a little bit?
I think what I'm most excited about is just how Sparks is growing, and how it still continues, though, to stay very family friendly. And I think it's a great place to live and work and raise your family. And we have just a lot of opportunities for outdoor activities and things like that.
That is very true.
Yes.
Very. I do love how family oriented we are here.
Very
in
much
Sparks,
so.
So that's great. Anything else you wanted to say about being a council member, or anything you want to mention?
Well, it's just, I can tell you I am so honored that the mayor chose to pick me and that the council affirmed his pick, and I look forward to working with all of them and pretty much continuing my community service.
Well, we appreciate it, and we know that I'll be reaching out to you again to just kind of do a little ward updates here and there and talking about what's going on in Ward 2, so I look forward to that.
Of course, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for being my guest.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for our next edition.